Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the M3 iPad Air 7 and compare it against the iPad mini 7th generation and see which particular iPad is the better one for you. Now, first things first, I will definitely tell you, if you're going to go through and pick up either one of these iPads, they're both very good options, right? They're both some of the best iPads you can basically get your hands on. So if you're definitely going to go through and pick up an iPad, these two are very solid options, right? I think they're both very good, but I will tell you there might be one that is better. There might be one that's more up my alley. And we'll talk about both these iPads throughout this whole entire video. First things first though, if you do want to pick up either one of these particular iPads, links will be down in the description below. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, starting off with the outside of both these iPads. The iPad mini 7, which came out a little bit, last year, on the front side of this particular iPad is giving you an 8.3-inch liquid retina display. So this type of panel, for the most part, it's a pretty good, decent panel. It's more or less a panel of what you'd expect. It's essentially almost the same thing as the Mini 6. So, it gives you true tone and it gives you anti-reflective coating, which is a really nice feature to have. And the main selling point of the iPad mini 7 is that it is a much smaller iPad, right? Like if you're going to go through and pick up an iPad, you're able to go ahead and get a really good performing iPad and a really fast iPad, and it can come in a really small size. So that is a really big advantage for this iPad, and that's a main reason why people end up even kind of buying these types of devices is because of its size. So this is, without a doubt, it's a good functional iPad, and its size actually comes pretty useful to people who want a smaller sized iPad. With the iPad Air M3 model, it comes out in two different sizes. So you can either get it in this 11-inch model, or you can get it in this 13-inch model. So it completely depends on which way you want to go. So that is kind of a nice thing to basically be able to go through and pick up these types of iPads that are going to be giving you this type of capability. So kind of keep that in mind too. But I will probably tell you, in my personal opinion, if you're going to go through and pick up an iPad, I think the iPad Air is probably the better one if that's the one more up my alley, just because it is kind of like a bigger sized iPad. But beyond that, you're getting the same type of technology. You're getting true tone, you're getting anti-reflective coating. So there isn't really a big thing or a big differentiating factor from that side either. So from that side in and of itself, that kind of covers it up there too. Now on top of that, when it comes down to its, bottoms, both these are giving you USB Type-C ports, which is awesome. I love having USB Type-C, and you're going to be getting that type of capability inside of both these phones from that particular side too. Now on top of that, on the back sides, you're going to be getting flat sides on both, but you're also getting kind of the same type of layout on the backside too. They're both relatively the same. There's not really a big difference here either. They're both giving you single camera setups. They both almost come out in the same exact type of colors as well. So that's kind of a funny thing. It's basically almost the same type of device when it comes down to it from that particular perspective. And then you're also going to be getting, this Apple logo in the center. And that's kind of it. There's not really anything super insane else that's going on here. Like I said, it's more or less what you'd expect, which is something that I actually like a lot. So if you are going to go through and pick up an iPad, both these iPads are probably going to be giving you fairly similar type of experience when it comes down to it. When it comes down to their battery lives, when it comes down to their, price tags, this is also going to be another interesting thing to keep in mind here, because both these iPads are pretty much giving you, the iPad mini 7 costs $499. The iPad Air costs $599 for the cheapest model. So if you are going to go through and pick up that iPad, you're probably going to be seeing that type of device is going to be giving you a little bit of a more different type of experience when it kind of comes down to it from that side. So I will tell you from that side in and of itself, once again, that is one of those important things to keep in mind, because if you are going to go through and pick up an iPad, that is kind of one of the big things to keep in mind from that side. So in my personal opinion, that kind of covers it up there. When it comes down to their cameras, they're both giving you single camera setups on the backside. So they're both 12 megapixel cameras. And I will tell you, if you're going to go through and pick up a device, these two cameras are very, very good. So they're both fairly solid. You can see though there's a little bit of a difference. The iPad mini 7 is going to be giving you this, flash on the back, which I think is actually pretty nice. I actually like having flash. It's funny because the iPad Air isn't really giving you that as far as I can tell. So it's interesting they put that on the smaller iPad but not on the bigger one. So that was always something that was very, very surprising to me. But on top of that, another very interesting thing to keep in mind here is that between both, the front camera I think is structured better on the iPad Air. So you're getting the landscape, camera there, the landscape, camera with center stage. The iPad mini 7 is giving you the camera with, it's centered right in the middle. So I will tell you, in my personal opinion, that is kind of a big thing to keep in mind there. Like if you're going to go through and pick up an iPad, I do think that is kind of a big advantage. And in my personal opinion, if I'm picking up a device, I think that would kind of be the better one here for the most part. So from that side in and of itself, that is kind of one of the biggest things, is that if you're going to go through and pick up an iPad and you're wanting the better camera, they're pretty much going to be the same as that camera. There's not really that big of a difference, but maybe the iPad Air, again, might be giving you the better one here and there for the most part. Who knows? But they're pretty much more or less the same exact thing when it comes down to it. When it comes down to software longevity, both these iPads are going to be supported with software for many years from now. They're both also giving you Apple Intelligence, which is another really cool feature, but they're both giving you relatively the same type of capability. So it's not really like the biggest deal in the world. And I do think if you are going to go and pick up an iPad, you're really going to be getting super long lasting software support and just a super long lasting iPad inside of both these as well. So I would tell you that in and of itself is another really big advantage going on for both these as well. When it comes down to battery life, Apple doesn't really give us the battery life specs on their iPad page for some reason. But from what I've seen, I have actually been getting pretty good battery life and a pretty good experience from both these iPads. I haven't really felt like they've been like super bad or like super insanely terrible or anything like that. So I think that is kind of another important thing to keep in mind. Like you're going to be getting very fast iPads from both these devices. And I do think, like I said before, that is kind of a very big thing to keep in mind here. So keep that in mind. I think if you're going to go through and pick up a device, that is one of the biggest things to keep in mind there. But the most interesting thing is the performance. Because they support Apple Intelligence, they have the same amount of RAM, everything like that, but the chipsets are different. You're getting that M3 chipset inside of the iPad Air versus the A17 Pro chipset inside of the iPad mini. Now on paper, the M3 chipset is clocked at a higher, it's just clocked higher. You're getting 8-core CPU and 9-core GPU, whereas the iPad mini 7 is going to be giving you 6-core CPU and 5-core GPU. So it's not quite half the amount of performance, but it is going to be a faster iPad on the iPad Air, the M3 model. So if you're wanting the iPad that's going to be giving you a faster experience, well, this one is probably going to be something like the iPad Air, right? Just with that M3 chipset, that one's probably going to be the faster one for the most part. With the iPad, mini 7, I think this one's going to be a little bit of a different type of iPad. It's still going to be very, very fast, but if you are wanting the faster one when it kind of comes down to it, it definitely is going to be the M3 iPad Air in my personal opinion, and probably in anyone else's opinion as well. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. But like I said, there's other iPads in the middle as well. I forgot to say this. You have to keep in mind that if you're going to go through and pick up these iPads, yes, the iPad, Air 7 is the better one here for sure. That one's going to be giving you better capability in almost every single way. But with that being said, I still think there are a lot of iPads in the middle that you could go ahead and pick up as well. You have to think about iPads like the iPad, Air 5. I think that one with the M1 chipset, that one was a really good iPad for sure. And I really, really enjoyed my time with that particular iPad. And I do think in a lot of ways, that one could be an iPad that a lot of people could end up buying as well, and probably still end up having a pretty good time with it. So I think from that side, that's kind of one of the important things to keep in mind there too. But beyond that, I'll probably tell you, you can't really go wrong with either one of these. The choice is yours, but if I'm going to go and pick up an iPad, it probably is going to be, the iPad Air 7. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.